The chair scraped loudly as Corbin stood up so fast his coffee nearly spilled. "Wait, don't." His voice broke before the words could finish. The two little girls froze. They were already turning away, shoulders hunched, hands locked together like they were bracing for impact. The smaller one flinched, as if she'd expected to be yelled at. The other tightened her grip and whispered, "I told you we shouldn't have asked." Corbin pressed his palms flat against the table, chest rising too fast. The cafe noise rushed back in, forks clinking, a child laughing somewhere, the hiss of the espresso machine. But his eyes stayed locked on the twins. "No," he said quickly. "Please, come back." They hesitated. People rarely said that. Slowly, they turned. Up close, Corbin could see how thin they were. Not sickly thin, just quietly, painfully hungry. Their dresses hung loose on their small frames, collars stretched and faded, sleeves frayed at the edges. One had a faint bruise on her knee, yellowing like it was days old. The other's shoelace was tied in a knot so tight it had probably been done weeks ago. "What are your names?" Corbin asked, forcing his voice to stay steady. The taller twin glanced at her sister before answering. "I'm Ella." The smaller one barely lifted her head. "Emma?" Corbin nodded, swallowing hard. "I'm Corbin. You didn't do anything wrong, I promise." Emma whispered, "We can go." "No," he said again, softer this time. "Sit, please." They climbed back into the booth carefully, sliding in side by side, their knees knocked together, their hands never let go. Corbin sat down slowly, afraid one wrong movement might scare them off. The pancakes sat between them, still warm, still whole. "You can eat," he said. "They're for you." Ella's eyes flicked to the plate, then back to him. "Are you sure?" "Yes. But that's your food." Corbin gave a tired smile. "I'll be okay." Emma studied his face like she was searching for a lie. When she didn't find one, she nodded. They didn't grab the pancakes. They didn't rush. Ella tore one pancake cleanly in half, hands shaking just a little. She handed one piece to Emma, then she broke her own piece in half again. She slid the smaller portion across the table toward Corbin. "So, you won't be hungry too?" she said quietly. The sound Corbin made wasn't a word. He turned his face toward the window, shoulders trembling. His jaw clenched hard, but it didn't help. Tears spilled anyway, hot and unstoppable, dripping onto the table. He hadn't cried like this since the hospital room, since the machines had gone quiet. Emma reached out, hesitant at first, then gently touched his sleeve. "Did we make you sad?" Corbin shook his head, still looking away. "No, sweetheart. You reminded me of something I almost forgot." "What?" Ella asked. How strong kids can be. The waitress had noticed by then. She slowed as she passed their table, eyes narrowing slightly. She took in the scene, the untouched coffee, the broken pancakes, the man wiping his face with his sleeve, while two little girls sat perfectly still, like they were afraid to breathe. She stopped. "Sir," she said softly. "Everything okay?" Corbin nodded too fast. "Yes. Sorry, just allergies." She didn't believe him. Her gaze dropped to the twins. "Are these your girls?" He hesitated. "No, but they can be. For now." The waitress swallowed. "Can I get you anything else?" Corbin shook his head. "No, thank you." She lingered for a second, then nodded and walked away. But she didn't go far. Emma took a careful bite. Her eyes widened just a little. "It's warm," she whispered, like it was a secret. Ella nodded, chewing slowly and sweet. Corbin watched them eat, heart aching with every bite. The way they savored it, the way they paused between mouthfuls like they were afraid the moment would end too soon. "Where are you staying?" he asked gently. Ella shrugged. Sometimes places. Emma added. Sometimes nowhere. Corbin's fingers curled into fists under the table. You shouldn't have to do that, he said. Emma shrugged again. We're used to it. The words landed heavy. A man at the table beside them cleared his throat loudly. He'd been pretending not to stare, but he couldn't anymore. He stood, pulled out his wallet, and placed a folded bill on Corbin's table. For the girls, he muttered, then walked away quickly. Corbin stared at the money. Then another woman stood. Then another. Bills appeared. Quietly, gently. Ella's eyes darted around. Why are they doing that? Corbin shook his head slowly. Because sometimes people remember who they are. Emma leaned closer to him. Are you a dad? Corbin's throat tightened. Yes. Where are your kids? At home, he said. Waiting for me. Ella smiled faintly. They're lucky. Corbin almost laughed. Almost. Before he could answer, the cafe door opened again, and everything changed. A woman in a dark jacket stepped inside, scanning the room with sharp, practiced eyes. She stopped when she saw Emma and Ella, and her face went pale. Girls? She said sharply. There you are. Emma stiffened. Ella's hand tightened. Corbin felt the shift instantly. Do you know her? He asked quietly. Ella whispered, barely audible. We're not supposed to be here. The woman started toward the table, and Corbin stood up. Corbin stood fully now, chair scraping back again, placing himself between the twins and the woman before she could reach the table. Who are you? He asked, voice calm but firm. The woman stopped short. She looked irritated, more inconvenienced than concerned. That's none of your business. Those are my nieces. Emma shrank back into the booth, eyes wide. Ella slid closer to her sister, shoulders tensing. Corbin glanced down at them. Is that true? Neither answered right away. Emma's lip trembled. She's our aunt. Kind of. The woman exhaled sharply. I told you not to wander off. Do you have any idea how much trouble you cause? Corbin felt heat rise in his chest. They weren't causing trouble, they were eating. With a stranger, the woman snapped, which is dangerous. Corbin didn't move aside. They asked politely. They were hungry. The word hung in the air. Hungry. The woman's eyes flicked to the plates, then away. That's not your concern. It became my concern when they asked me if they could eat, Corbin replied, and when they shared their food with me. The woman scoffed. They do that. They're dramatic. Ella flinched at the word. Emma whispered, We were just sitting. The waitress reappeared, standing a little straighter now. Is there a problem? Yes, the woman said quickly. This man is interfering with my family. Corbin opened his mouth, but Ella spoke first. She doesn't let us eat much, Ella said quietly. The cafe went silent. The woman spun toward her. Ella. She says we waste food, Emma added softly. So sometimes we just don't eat. The waitress's face drained of color. The woman forced a laugh that fooled no one. Kids exaggerate. Corbin felt something snap inside him. How long have they been with you? He asked. The woman folded her arms. Long enough. Do they have beds? They sleep. Do they eat every day? The woman's jaw tightened. Who do you think you are? A father, Corbin said, and I know what it looks like when kids are scared to ask for food. The cafe manager stepped out from behind the counter then, his expression hard. Ma'am, I'm going to ask you to lower your voice. She rounded on him. Stay out of this. He didn't flinch. I can't, not anymore. The woman grabbed her purse. Come on, girls, we're leaving. Emma shook her head, tears spilling freely now. Please don't. Ella stood up suddenly. We didn't do anything wrong. You embarrassed me, the woman hissed. Corbin knelt beside the booth. Hey, he said gently. You did nothing wrong. Do you hear me? Emma nodded shakily. Ella whispered, Are we in trouble? Corbin swallowed. No, not if I can help it. The woman reached out to grab Ella's arm. Corbin moved faster than he thought possible. He stepped forward, putting his hand up, not touching her, but stopping her all the same. Don't, he said quietly. The room felt like it might crack open. The manager pulled out his phone. I'm calling someone. The woman froze. You wouldn't. I would, he said calmly. Silence stretched. Then the woman cursed under her breath and dropped her hand. Fine, take them. See how long you last. She turned and stormed toward the door. Emma gasped. She's leaving us? The door slammed. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Emma began to cry. Not loud, just small, broken sobs that shook her shoulders. Ella tried to be brave, wrapping her arms around her sister, but her own tears fell too. Corbin gathered them both in, carefully, like they might break. It's okay, he whispered, though he wasn't sure it was true. I've got you. Right now, I've got you. The waitress wiped her eyes. I'm calling social services. Ella looked up sharply. Will they separate us? Corbin met her gaze. No, I won't let that happen. He didn't know if he had the power to promise that, but he promised anyway. Minutes later, a woman in a blazer arrived, speaking softly, kneeling to the twins' level. Emma clung to Corbin's jacket. Don't go. I'm not, he said. I'm right here. The social worker listened, took notes, asked gentle questions, and then she looked at Corbin. Do you have children? She asked. Yes, he said. Twin girls. Her eyes softened. Of course you do. She glanced at Emma and Ella. Would you like to stay together? Yes, they said at the same time. She smiled faintly. We'll make sure of it. As the social worker stepped aside to make a call, the cafe manager approached Corbin. You meant what you said earlier? He asked. About looking for work? Corbin nodded. Every word. You start tomorrow, the manager said. Morning shift. Corbin stared at him, stunned. Why? The man nodded toward the twins. Because this is what good looks like. Emma tugged Corbin's sleeve. Does this mean we can eat tomorrow too? Corbin's eyes filled again. Yes, he whispered. Yes, it does. But even as hope crept in, a heavy truth pressed down on his chest. Because tomorrow meant figuring out how to explain all of this to his own daughters. And he had no idea how Lily and Rose would react. To learning that their father had just brought 2 more broken hearts into their world. The bus rattled as it pulled away from the curb, its doors folding shut with a tired sigh. Corbin stood on the sidewalk with Emma and Ella pressed close to his sides, each gripping one of his hands like they were afraid he might vanish if they let go. You're sure? Ella asked for the 3rd time. We're really going with you? Corbin nodded. Just for tonight, until the social worker finds a place. We'll take it one step at a time. Emma looked up at him. Promise you won't disappear? He crouched so they were eye level. I promise. She studied his face carefully, like she was memorizing it, then nodded once. The bus ride was quiet at first. Emma leaned her head against the window, watching buildings blur past. Ella sat stiffly, back straight, eyes darting every time the bus slowed. Corbin noticed everything. You okay? He asked softly. Ella shrugged. Buses mean moving. Moving isn't always bad, he said. It usually is. she replied. He didn't argue. When they reached his stop, the sky had already begun to darken. Streetlights flickered on, casting long shadows across cracked sidewalks. Corbin hesitated before leading them toward the apartment building. It wasn't much. Paint peeling, stairwell lights buzzing faintly, the kind of place people pretended not to notice. Emma squeezed his hand tighter. "Is this where you live?" "For now," he said. Inside, his mother looked up from the couch, surprise flashing across her tired face. "Corbin?" she began. Then she saw the girls. The twins froze instantly. Emma whispered, "Did we do something wrong?" "No," Corbin said quickly. No, Mom, this is Emma and Ella." His mother stood slowly, eyes softening as she took them in. "Hello, sweethearts." They didn't answer. Lily and Rose appeared from the hallway, identical curls bouncing, eyes bright with excitement, until they noticed the other twins. 4 girls, 2 sets of mirrors. The room went very still. Rose tilted her head. "Daddy, they look like us." Lily frowned. "Why are they here?" Corbin swallowed. They needed help. Emma stared at Lily and Rose, eyes wide. "They're your daughters?" "Yes," Lily said proudly, then hesitated. "Are you staying?" Emma glanced at Ella. Ella didn't answer. Dinner was awkward. Corbin's mother had made rice and beans, simple, filling. Emma and Ella sat stiffly at the table, barely touching their plates. "You can eat," Corbin said gently. Emma whispered, "Are we allowed?" His chest tightened. "You don't have to ask here." Ella picked up her spoon, hands shaking. Lily watched them, confused. Why are they scared? Corbin closed his eyes briefly. Because they've had a hard time. Rose leaned forward. "They can have my juice." Emma smiled weakly. "Thank you." As the girls ate, something shifted. Slowly, carefully. After dinner, the twins played quietly on the floor. Lily offered a doll. Ella hesitated, then accepted it like it was fragile. Later, when the girls were settled on blankets in the living room, Corbin sat on the edge of the couch, head in his hands. His mother sat beside him. "You didn't have to do this." "I know," he said. "But I couldn't not." She reached for his hand. "You're already drowning." "So were they," he whispered. A knock came at the door. Corbin's heart jumped. The social worker stood there, clipboard in hand. "I just wanted to check in." Emma scrambled to Corbin's side. "You're not taking us away, are you?" The woman knelt. "Not tonight." Ella looked up sharply. "Not tonight?" The social worker glanced at Corbin. "We found a temporary placement, a foster home, together." Emma's grip tightened painfully. "We don't want to go." Corbin felt something tear inside him. "You won't be alone," the woman said gently. Emma shook her head, tears spilling. "We were alone before." Corbin knelt. "Hey," he said, voice breaking. "Listen to me. This isn't goodbye." Ella searched his face. "You mean it?" "I do," he said. "I'll come see you, I promise." Promise?" Emma asked. He nodded. Promise. That night, as the girls slept, Corbin lay awake staring at the ceiling. Because he knew promises were dangerous. And he didn't know how he was going to keep this one. The house was too quiet after they left. Corbin stood in the doorway long after the social worker's car disappeared down the street, his hands still curled like they were holding something that wasn't there anymore. Emma had cried quietly into his jacket. Ella hadn't cried at all. She just looked at him, eyes shining, like she was trying to be brave for both of them. "Don't forget us," Emma had whispered. "I won't," he'd said. And this time, the words scared him. Now the apartment felt smaller, emptier. Lily and Rose slept on the couch, their faces turned toward each other, breathing in the same rhythm. Corbin watched them, chest aching. His mother spoke softly behind him. "You can't save everyone." He didn't turn. "I know." "Then why does it look like you're breaking in half?" He exhaled slowly. "Because I saw my girls in them." The next morning, Corbin started work at the cafe before sunrise. He scrubbed tables, poured coffee, smiled at customers, and carried the weight of 2 small promises in his chest. Every time the door opened, he half expected Emma and Ella to walk in. They didn't. On his break, he borrowed the manager's phone and called the social worker. "Hi, it's Corbin," he said quickly. "I just wanted to check on the girls." There was a pause, papers shuffling. "They're settling in," she said carefully. "Settling in how?" "They didn't sleep much." Corbin closed his eyes. "Can I see them?" Another pause. "That might confuse things." "They already are confused," he said. "They think everyone leaves." Silence stretched. "I'll see what I can do," she said finally. Days passed. Then a week. Corbin worked doubles. He brought home leftovers when he could. Lily and Rose asked about Emma and Ella every night. "Are they coming back?" Rose asked. "I don't know," Corbin said honestly. One evening the phone rang. The social worker's voice was tense. "Corbin, the placement isn't working." His heart dropped. "What do you mean?" "They're refusing to eat. They won't speak to the foster parents. Emma cries at night. Ella keeps asking for you." Corbin didn't hesitate. "Bring them here." There was a sharp inhale. "You're not licensed." "I don't care," he said. "They need someone they trust." Another pause, then softly, "Be ready." When the car pulled up, Emma bolted from the back seat before the door fully opened, slamming into Corbin's chest. "You came," she sobbed. Ella followed more slowly, but when Corbin knelt, she wrapped her arms around his neck and whispered, "You didn't lie." Inside, Lily and Rose stared in shock as the twins reappeared. "You're back," Lily said. Emma nodded, crying and smiling at the same time. "Just for now." That night, all 4 girls slept in a tangled mess of blankets, feet touching, hands linked. Corbin sat on the floor beside them, afraid to move. But fear crept in anyway, because now there were 4 mouths to feed, 4 futures on his shoulders, and 1 paycheck that barely held his own life together. Weeks passed. Corbin filled out paperwork, attended meetings, answered questions that made his stomach knot. Why do you want to foster? Because they deserve to feel safe. Can you afford this? I'll figure it out. One night, after the girls were asleep, his mother sat across from him at the kitchen table. "You can't do this alone," she said. "I'm not alone," he replied. "I have them." She reached for his hand. Love doesn't pay rent. The eviction notice came 2 days later. Final date. No exceptions. Corbin sat on the edge of the bed, papers shaking in his hands. Emma appeared in the doorway. "Are we in trouble?" she asked quietly. He forced a smile. "No." Ella stepped closer, studying his face. "You're lying." Corbin exhaled. "I'm worried." "Is it because of us?" Emma whispered. "No," he said immediately. "Never because of you." That night, Corbin made a decision that terrified him. The next morning, he walked into the cafe early and asked the manager for a moment. "I need help," Corbin said plainly. "I'm going to lose my home." The manager listened silently. Then he nodded once. "You should have said something sooner." He opened a folder. Inside were papers Corbin didn't expect to see. "We've been running a fundraiser," the manager said, "for families in need." Corbin stared. "I can't accept that." "You already did," the man replied. The day you stood between those girls and the door. Tears blurred Corbin's vision. That evening, the girls sat around the table as Corbin told them the truth. "We might have to move," he said, "but we'll stay together." Emma reached across the table and took his hand. "So we're a family?" she asked. Corbin swallowed. "If you want to be." Ella nodded firmly. "We already are." But even as hope wrapped around them, one final obstacle remained. A court date, and a judge who had never heard their story. The courtroom smelled like old paper and quiet judgment. Corbin sat on the hard wooden bench with his hands folded tightly in his lap, his knee bouncing despite his effort to stay still. Emma and Ella sat beside him, pressed close, their small hands tucked into the sleeves of his jacket. Lily and Rose were on his other side, unusually silent, eyes darting between the high ceiling and the closed door behind the judge's bench. None of the girls had ever been in a place like this before. Neither had Corbin. "Daddy," Rose whispered, barely moving her lips. "Is this where they take people away?" Corbin leaned closer. "No, sweetheart. This is where people listen." Emma looked up at him, eyes shiny. "Will they listen to us?" He hesitated. "I hope so," he said honestly. The door opened, and everyone stood. The judge was older than Corbin expected. Gray hair, tired eyes, the kind of face that had seen too many stories and learned to keep them at arm's length. He took his seat and looked down at the papers in front of him. "Case regarding the temporary guardianship of Emma and Ella," he said. "Let's proceed." The social worker spoke first, outlining facts. Dates, names, failed placements. The words sounded cold, stripped of feeling. Then the judge looked at Corbin. "Mr. Hale," he said, "you are not a licensed foster parent. Your income is modest. Your housing situation has been unstable. Why should I consider placing 2 additional children in your care?" Corbin's mouth went dry. He stood slowly. "Because," he said, voice unsteady, "they already trust me." The judge raised an eyebrow. "Trust alone doesn't keep children safe." "No," Corbin agreed, "but it gives them a reason to sleep at night." There was a murmur in the room. Corbin swallowed and continued. "These girls didn't ask me for money. They didn't ask me for help. They asked me if they could eat with me, and when I gave them food, they shared it back. That's the kind of children they are." The judge glanced down at Emma and Ella. Ella met his gaze without flinching. "Do you have anything you'd like to say?" the judge asked gently. Ella stood. Emma grabbed her hand, terrified. "It's okay," Ella whispered to her, then looked back at the judge. "We don't want a lot." The judge leaned forward slightly. "We just want to stay," Ella said. "Somewhere we don't have to keep leaving." Emma's voice cracked as she spoke next. "We're good. We really are. We get scared." The room was completely silent. The judge leaned back, rubbing his chin. "And you?" he said, looking at Lily and Rose. "How do you feel about this?" Rose spoke first. "They can sleep with us." Lily nodded fiercely. "And share our snacks. And Daddy reads better when there are more of us listening." A few quiet laughs rippled through the room. The judge exhaled slowly. He looked back at Corbin. "You understand this won't be easy?" Corbin nodded. "Nothing worth keeping ever is." The judge closed the file. "I'm granting temporary guardianship," he said, effective immediately. For a moment, Corbin didn't understand the words. Then Emma screamed. She threw her arms around his neck, crying so hard she could barely breathe. Ella hugged him too, her face buried in his shoulder, her body shaking with silent sobs she'd been holding in for far too long. Lily and Rose joined in, all 4 girls clinging to him like they were afraid the floor might open up and take him away. Corbin dropped to his knees, holding them, tears falling freely now. "Thank you," he whispered over and over. "Thank you." That night, they ate dinner together. Nothing fancy, just rice, vegetables, and bread. But laughter filled the small apartment like it hadn't in years. Afterward, as the girls got ready for bed, Emma paused in the doorway. "Are we really staying?" she asked softly. Corbin knelt in front of her. "As long as you'll have us." She smiled, a real smile this time. Weeks turned into months. The cafe fundraiser turned into a permanent community program. Corbin was promoted. The eviction notice disappeared. The apartment felt warmer, fuller, alive. One evening, the girls sat around the table doing homework when Emma suddenly looked up. "Daddy?" she said. Corbin paused. "Yes?" She hesitated. "We can call you that, right?" His chest tightened. "Yes," he said. "You can." Ella reached for his hand. "Thank you for eating with us." Corbin smiled, eyes wet. "Thank you for asking." Outside, the city moved on. Busy, loud, indifferent. But inside that small apartment, 4 little girls slept without fear. And a man who once thought he had nothing left learned that sometimes a single question, a shared meal, and an open heart can turn strangers into family, and broken lives into something whole again.